What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Certified BS. So, you were probably expecting me to say, it's your girl, Bri Undeniably, but I have some new initials that are BS. And what better way than to rebrand myself if I'm going to agree to BS being my title for the rest of my life than Certified BS, or a rebranding of the podcast and of my brand really felt right. So, certified BS with your girl, Bria Simmons, and we're going to jump into it. So, a lot has changed, and a lot of newness and growth for me, for this podcast, for where I'm at in life. And this episode's going to really just bring you in to what certified BS is going to be about. So, first and foremost, I'm here modeling the start. And starting fresh with anything is one of the hardest things to do. So I am here trying to model exactly what it's like to start something new and be in my own discomfort of doing this process over again that I actually started 5 years ago. For those who have followed along in my process, you know my first podcast was Bri Undeniably, which started in 2020, and it was really sort of the birth out of this medical incident that I had, which I am sure I will recap at some point in later episodes. But I went from Bri Undeniably to then DCDI, or Deep Conversations with Dope Individuals, and that was to see other individuals and speak with other individuals who had also been on this journey for themselves that could have been a medical journey or a journey of self-discovery, but it was really to get others' stories of what they had been through in their life after I had gone through this really crazy thing. And DCDI ran for a few seasons, or I mean, I really did a long run of DCDI, and I loved doing that podcast, but it also led to burnout. And I think I was pretty honest with that after I tried to restart with Undeniably U. So again, those who have followed along really know like the Undeniably journey. And I tried to restart with Undeniably U, and I just wasn't ready. So I did a couple of episodes and I just stopped, and I just wasn't ready. And I was in a transitional period. And so it's been about a year since I have last started a podcast, and I am feeling so refreshed, so ready to go, so excited about this. And I really want to bring something here that's going to be new and exciting as well. So let's talk a little bit about the title, about the BS. There's a double entendre there. So, as you know, Bria Simmons, here I am. But I am also in the therapeutic space. I'm a psychotherapist. So I work all day with clients. I used to work in the school space, in the school counselor space. Now I work in the private practice space. And so I'm doing therapy with clients. And I have to make it clear, not doing therapy here. I'm not therapizing you at all in any way. I have to separate those two spaces. I'm not affiliated at all. However, I'm here to bring you the knowledge that I know in the therapeutic space to uh, to everyone, because a lot of people think therapy is BS. And it's not. But I get how that can be a misconception. And so it's a little bit pithy here that we have certified BS as the podcast title, because I am really going to be talking about mental health. I want to be breaking down the stigmas of mental health. I want to be really giving tangible advice and tangible like takeaways for what is going to be helpful in the mental health and personal development space. So there is a shift from Bri Undeniably in the sense that this is going to be much more therapeutically driven. And my guests, my hope, at least in this first season, in the beginning, is going to be where I'm going to have guests that are uh, really going to be able to speak to different facets of mental health and therapy. But I know that my Bri Undeniably series and kind of the multiple series I had, DCDI was heavy. We talked a lot about heavy topics and people going through these transformational journeys of life, which I will be honest, so much of my work is heavy. So much of the work that I do daily is really heavy. And I want this to be a space where we're shaking it up. I want mental health to be sexy. I want mental health. Like, I want you to consider me like your personal trainer for making your mind sexy and like your brain sexy the same way like we want our bodies to look good. So a personal trainer can come in and like really help us to like mold our muscles and make us definitely like, look how we want. I want you to be able to think how you want. So we're making mental health sexy here, and that's going to be part of the experience. So we're switching it up from like this sweet space and this really we'll say like uh heavy or harder to kind of sometimes harder to digest space, right? Like those stories were heavy, to a more fun, pithy, uplifting, sexy, hot, mental health is cool space. All right, so that's where we're at. Now I'm going to go into a few other of the BSs that I've been brainstorming here. Brainstorming, that's a single BS, so that's not it. Okay, so there are a few things though that I have considered in like what makes a person like what we would say BS, if I can break it down, if I can break down the mental health aspect, I would say there's actually two really important BSs in mental health. One is our belief systems, and the other one is our behavioral structures or behavioral science behind what we do. So like what we think and what we do. Okay? Belief systems and behavioral structures or behavioral systems. So you can also call that behavioral science because mental health is behavioral health, but we have to be able to switch what we're thinking. We have to be able to switch our brain patterns. We have to be able to really adjust what takes place inside of our head to then adjust the behaviors that we do in order to make a change in mental health. Okay, so we have belief systems, we have behavior structures. There's also some brain science in here. I had a lot of fun when I was brainstorming what this podcast could be about. But those are some of the main pieces that I will be talking about, and certainly what's to come in the next couple of episodes. We're really going to start to break down some of what those are. So one other really important piece here is that I want to help you become a better self. Likely the most important BS there is, that's not BS at all, is becoming a better self. And we're not becoming our best selves. I want this to be realistic. And I can't say that really at any point in time, anyone is always being their best self because we exist not in a vacuum of who we are, but we exist in a very a very dynamic space of humanhood of who we are. So we're becoming better selves here. We're not becoming best selves. Though I wish that for you and I wish that for me too. I Our best self might not exist, and I might regret saying that, but right now I'm going to say it and I'm going to hold to it, and I will let you know in a later episode. Stay tuned if my mind has changed or if a future guest changes my mind. There will be guests on the podcast as well. We're going to do a mix, and I'm going to be bringing in guests sometimes. I'm going to be doing solo episodes sometimes. My solo episodes are going to be really concise. You're able to kind of just digest them quickly in a commute or a run or something like that. So I'm going to try to keep all solo episodes under 30 minutes, and then guest episodes, we'll see. That's another piece of this that I want to bring in is the we'll see. I have said in my previous podcast, I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I really stand by that. And one of the most challenging parts of me for restarting a podcast today and in the past has been that I didn't have it all figured out. So I'm sitting in the discomfort of not having it all figured out right now by saying, we'll see. I don't have exactly I don't know the structure for sure. I don't even have the perfect tagline for the podcast. If you have one for me, send it along. You can send it the email. I'll go through all of that at the end, but I don't have those pieces yet. And if I waited for those pieces, I would have been waiting forever. And that's one of the most, I would say, one of the scariest things that I have come to realize for myself is that we can sort of stay in waiting forever if we wait for all these pieces to fall in line. We can sort of be the passenger in the car of our lives for our whole lives if we don't start taking action towards it. So here I am again, I'm saying it, modeling taking action, modeling the start, modeling the discomfort, modeling being a recovering perfectionist and not having all the answers. And uh, I'm also here to say that that's okay. And I know for me in my mental health, that has been one of the biggest challenges. So, like I said, I'm not going to rehash my whole medical story that really started my podcast journey, but what I do want to bring in is the very quick version, which was I was paralyzed for several weeks. So my body was physically paralyzed. And from someone who can say that they've been in physical paralysis where they did not know if they were ever going to walk again, I can guarantee you, at least from my perspective, that mental paralysis is far more difficult. Mental paralysis has kept me stuck for far longer than physical paralysis ever could. With physical paralysis, I was still able to think. I was still able to have all of my mental faculties in place where I could go beyond the physical. I still had freedom of thought, free will, and it was not okay that my body couldn't move, but more okay than what it feels like when my mind is stuck there. When I feel like my mind is paralyzed, when I feel like I am unable to start because of all these excuses that we can feed ourselves. We don't have the pieces. What are people going to think? What's going to take place? Where I don't have all the answers. I don't know what the future looks like. Like we have all of this unknown that we convince ourselves moving forward is a far less ideal option than staying here. And I can fully confirm with everything that I have that that's just not true. But I will say, doing these things, everything that we're going to talk about from here on out, it involves a level of discomfort. And we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. We have to be able to understand that growth takes place in discomfort. We need comfort in order to be able to rest and restore, but we need discomfort in order to be able to build and to grow. Okay, so that's just another piece here that is going to be just really vital in our work, but it's also me expressing that vulnerability and me really being able to model the discomfort that I can feel. Though after talking here for a little bit, I'm already feeling more comfortable. I was definitely nervous this morning when I was thinking about, wow, I'm starting this thing again, and I haven't done it for quite some time. I haven't been in a studio for quite some time. I haven't been able to even express my thoughts or what you know where I have anything. I haven't been able to express who uh what my thoughts are in mental health, what my personal experiences are. I even sometimes feel that mental paralysis with social media, which is something that I'm actively working on as well, that I can imagine many of us are working on. What is it like to put yourself out there? So I'm gonna pause here and say that I will be putting myself out there more with this podcast, and it's something that I'm going to start encouraging you to do. What's one thing that you can do to inch yourself forward just a little bit that is going to push you just outside of your realm of comfort, right? Like if your zone of comfort is here, what can you do that's going to push you just there, right? You don't need to be this uncomfortable. For those of you who are watching on YouTube or maybe seeing a clip of this, you don't need to bring your discomfort so far out that we have breakdowns in other places, right? We want to just know where our zone of comfort is, kind of like this very like small circle here, and bring ourselves just outside of that to our realm of just slight discomfort, right? That's how we grow. So here I am doing that. So a couple more things before we sort of wrap up this introductory episode. So we're going to be really diving into some topics that are, like I said, they're going to be in the realm of mental health and personal development. But I also really want to know what listeners are looking for. So we're going to go into the very fun section of where to find me, though I would typically do this at the end, which I'll probably do at the end, but I'm going to do it now just to get people engaged and everything. All of my social medias have changed from anything Bri Undeniably to the Bria Simmons. So we're, again, changing that branding, the Bria Simmons. You can find me there on basically all social platforms. That's going to be Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. I'm going to be on Bria Simmons. So those are going to be my main spaces. And you can also reach out to us. So if you have an idea for the podcast, or if you want to be a guest on the podcast, if you're someone in the mental health space, or you have something to talk about in this space, then you can reach out to us at connect@briasimmons.com. That's going to be the email that you can reach out to. So a few other places that you can go to really be able to connect with me and my team. And yeah, that's those are those things. And I will circle back to those likely many times at the end of each episode, just to remind you that I want this to be interactive. I want us to be able to talk and connect. And that's that. We'll pause that there. So for next episode, I am really excited. We are going to be diving into the belief systems and the behavior science. So I'm going to be doing some education on what those things are, how we can understand what they are, how we can access them. So we're going to get to the basics of that. And then for future episodes, we're going to go into some things that I've likely talked about in the past, or even talked about in this episode. We're certainly going to talk about discomfort versus comfort more. We're going to talk about limiting beliefs and fixed limitations. I'm also going to really discuss types of therapy and how therapy actually does work. So I practice evidence-based approaches. It's the way therapy should be practiced. I know that there are plenty of science practitioners and clinicians that agree with that. Therapy should not be event session. And that is something we're going to talk more about that, though venting can feel really good in the moment. There's actually little to no scientific evidence that says that venting is actually going to help move you forward. And that's not what therapy is. That is not evidence-based. There's very specific ways that therapy can actually help to adjust our behaviors and belief systems. So we're going to talk about CBT, or cognitive behavior therapy, which is what I mainly practice. There's a lot of spaces of CBT. We're also going to talk about IFS, which is internal family systems therapy, which is something that I really love. It's a really unique way to do therapy. There's other forms of therapy that we'll get into. This will all be in the future, peppered in with some guest series, but I'm going to pause here, and I'll be honest, as the same way I was, unsure of really how to start this, and I'm still working on my tagline or my intro. I'm still working on my outro. I don't have it yet. I used to say, let this be the moment. And I love that, but I don't know if it's going to be my outro here. I'll say it though, let this be the moment, because I think it can be really helpful. Let this be the moment that you do something that you have not done before, that you step just into discomfort, that you start to even think about your belief systems and your behavioral structures and how those impact you and what you do. But I will also just say, until next time, I'm really excited to get this started. Again, I'm Bria Simmons. This is Certified BS. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon.